Hello there, how you doing? Nice to meet you, slash see you again. Yes, the rumors are true. I know everyone's talking about it. I am a charity fundraiser for a homeless charity. I am furloughed right now, but I can still call myself that in the present. I don't know. But I was one for 5 months, which is a very long time in fundraiser time, basically years, because people only work there on average 2 weeks before either quitting or being fired. It was my first time ever working in the sector. I've never done something like this before. All my previous jobs were like waitressing, bartending, looking after kids, au pairing, stuff like that. I wanted to do something I was actually passionate about because I'm very big about human rights. Believe it or not, I was not very passionate about serving alcohol to drunk British men, which is how I ended up working at the homeless charity that I did. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to implicate them in anything that I say or portray them in a negative light, because they're an amazing charity. But yeah, I started in October. The last day I worked was near the end of March. Yes, my job was indeed to annoy people on the street. I did not like that. I hated the idea of putting people out or annoying them. I had to get over that very quickly. I was also called a derogatory term, which I had never heard before, which is a chugger. So I divided everything into two categories, the job and then the people. And yes, my entire job was people-based, but I just think the people deserve a whole different category. I can't not. There's too much to say on the topic. So first of all, let's start off with the job. I don't think it's a job anyone grows up thinking like that's what I want to do. It definitely comes across as a very low-level position. I mean, you're literally working on the streets, but I think it was a very educational job to have. I learned so much more than I have in any other job position I've had before. Initially, my confidence was just like completely knocked down. The rejection rate is just so high, and I was just like, everyone hates me. They're all looking at me like I'm a major inconvenience to their day. They're scared of me. The fear in people's eyes is just visceral. I never felt like such a nuisance to people. It does build you up stronger. You learn to like kind of get a tougher skin, be like, well, screw you mentally. You can't actually say that to anyone. Slowly I became more sure of myself. I stopped like hiding in the corner of the pavement, like please don't be angry with me. I also learned how to talk in an earnest manner because you have so much to get through. It's basically like a script that you have to get through, and you can make it your own. You can add your own little things, do what you want. You can bring in different facts and figures and stuff depending on the person. Like, you have to use your own volition. Initially, that is so much to handle and so much to remember and try not sound rehearsed, but eventually you kind of get into the swing of things. Even if you have to say it 10,000 times, you still manage to be a human about it and not just recite a script. You actually make it your own and you act it out. It felt very dramatic. I kind of thought afterwards, like, I want to be an actress. Yes, I can see this role for me. I do care about the homeless. It's not just an act. Really, it was just the most fulfilling, unfulfilling, frustrating, heartwarming, heartbreaking job I've ever had. You just hear so many stories. You hear the good stories and the bad stories. I've had people talk to me about like they're not in a position to donate right now because their daughter was murdered last year and they're still trying to pay the lawyers and get this man convicted. I think the job really humanized people who are genuinely homeless, rough sleepers, people just who are couch surfing in tough positions, stuff like that. I think especially rough sleepers, which are people who sleep on the streets, are given such a bad name and they're literally looked at like they're trash, you know, a waste of society's time, which is why they're still in the position that they are. It's scary. It's so scary because I don't think anyone realizes how easy it is to end up there. I met a man who was amazing, so nice. He stopped to talk to me, and he used to be a math teacher. He genuinely lost his job, could not afford his housing anymore. He's an immigrant, so he had no friends or family here, and he's eloquent, so well spoken, beautiful English, still ended up on the streets. He'd been homeless for 3 months. He just stopped to talk to me, just like, you know, I just feel like the system kind of failed me. And I was like, yeah man, I think it failed you too. It's so easy to look at the stats and figures and be like, yeah, that's rough, but to actually meet the people that interact with them was a whole other world for me. Because the turnover is so high, anyone would rise through the ranks really fast, and I became team leader within like a month and a half of working there. I was put in charge of teams during the day, and 3 to 4 people were like my responsibility, and I was there to like teach them and inspire them, and if they were new, to try like coach them along, which was very frustrating. I know I was told I meant to be a teacher by a psychic, but it was just a very annoying experience for me. I had very little patience for it after the first couple times. I developed this uncanny ability to be able to tell what someone's reaction to charity would be, or whether they would actually donate to a charity, just by looking at them. And I don't mean like on the streets, I mean like anywhere, like on the tube, at family friends dinner. I'll find myself playing like almost like a morbid Tinder, like just be looking around and be like, yes, yes, no, you definitely would not. And then if anyone ever ended up bringing up my job, which they often did because they didn't know what else to talk to me about, like with family friends and stuff, and the topic turned to that, it turned out I was right about their opinions and feelings about charity, or my homeless charity. Almost like 100% of the time I was right. Either they were like really sympathetic and already donated or wanted to and did all they could, or just didn't believe in charity, or this or that. I got into the psyche of the public. The team was everything. Like, there were 3 or 4 other people with me who were long-term fundraisers. We kind of formed like a little family, and we were there for everything. I think the emotional toll this job can have on you is intense, and having other people there who understand, who will just like hug you while you sob on the street in front of a lot of people, is really great, because they just get it. I mean, literally all of us have been at that point at some time in our fundraising careers. I genuinely think if I didn't have that support within the charity, I don't think I could have continued more than like a couple weeks. I definitely became more aware of social issues. I've always been like a humanitarian at heart, but I definitely had a different perspective after all of this, and I became a lot more involved in charity myself. I actually started donating to a couple places. When I saw people on the street, I would sometimes get them coffee and stuff like that. Like, before this, I never would have even thought to do any of that, even though I supposedly cared. This experience definitely put it all in perspective for me, and I was definitely like, I care about this a lot, and I want to be involved, and I want to do something, even if it's something small. That's a positive. I would be asked like 20 times a day where I'm from, and then almost before I could answer, the person would guess American or Canadian. I am neither, just putting it out there, and I was incredibly offended every time. The sting did not go away. I did learn to laugh about it a little more, like, you're the 10th person to say that today. The repetition can get so boring because you have different versions of the same conversation like 10,000 times. The only thing that makes it interesting is when you actually start talking to people about their lives, which I started doing, and then they'd be like, why are you asking me about that? I'm like, I need something different. Tell me something interesting about yourself, I beg you. I've now become convinced that all public phone calls are fake. If I see someone walking towards me and they suddenly put their phone to their ear now, my mind is just like, fake. Why are you faking that call? And now I know there's no reason for them to be doing that because I'm not in my charity jacket, but that's just immediately what my brain thinks. Whenever I see someone in public on the phone, and if they glance at me or something, I'm just like, you're faking that call, mate. And that's just, you know, me being overly suspicious because I'm so used to people pretending to be on the phone. The weather is shit sometimes, and you just gotta pull through, and my mood was shit sometimes, and you just gotta pull through. So those were some interesting things to try handle and grapple with while trying to keep a smile on my face. And I've developed really good skills now. I could tell when someone was trying to avoid me from a mile off. I'd just be standing there and I'd see this person either suddenly pull out their phone and like start tapping at it nervously, and when they pass, it's just like on the home screen. Or people have pretended to have phone calls and you can see it's just on the home screen on their messaging app or whatever. People who suddenly find the wall next to them very intriguing and will study every little grit in it as they walk past. People who jump into the street where there are cars and buses to give me a wide berth to avoid me, and it hurts. It's definitely very obvious. I've felt both proud and ashamed of my job. It just kind of depends on the person and how they react to it, I guess. The people. Londoners are interesting. So I would get lectured a lot. I was given a lot of life advice. Some of it was helpful, some of it not really at all. A lot of people seemed very surprised that I was relatively intelligent or could hold a conversation. I don't know why this was shocking to them, but it was. It's a very strange dynamic because you connect with a stranger and have like this whole heart-to-heart with them, and then you just never see them again. It's very bizarre. There were a lot of kind people who pitied us, especially when we were working during the winter, and they'd see us like shivering our boots off, and they would come bring us like hot drinks and food, or like cookies and croissants and sandwiches, and they were so sweet. That's really nice. They don't realize how they made our day when they did that. And you can make someone someone else's day, which was actually pretty cool. I mean, there was this one guy who I met, and I think it was in Reading. I really liked the color his nails were painted, so when I saw him I was like, your nails look so sick, man. He looked like really uncertain, and he was like, thank you. And we had a whole conversation, and I was asking him what he did, because I like to entertain myself with people. So I was like, what do you do? I actually just finished studying to become a makeup artist, and I have a diploma in some fashion related topic. I can't quite remember what it was. And I was like, that's really cool. I'm glad you're, you know, following your passions. And he was like, seriously? And I was like, yes. Should I not be happy for you? You clearly seem to enjoy it. He was like, no, you're just the first like person, especially woman, to ever say that, because I'm straight and women don't think that's okay. They don't think that's acceptable for a straight man to be interested in those topics. And I was like, of course it's okay. And I don't know, we just had a whole heart-to-heart about it, gender stereotypes and all this stuff and heteronormative assumptions. It was great. He just walked off with like the biggest smile on his face. And like another time, this like old lady and I were having a conversation, and her eyes were stunning. Like, they were green, but then they had a blue ring on the outside, and I was just like mesmerized. And she was like in her 70s, 80s, I don't know. But just before she walked off, I was like, by the way, you have the most amazing eyes, they're beautiful. And she also just looked at me like so suspiciously, like it was a trick, and like, no, seriously, I do think your eyes are really beautiful. And she was like, no one's ever told me that before. I'm like, how? You are very old. How in all of that time has no one told you that? Because her eyes, they were just bewitching. So, you know, like small things like that really just make people's day. Like, she also just walked off with a big smile. I know that made me very happy. You become both the villain and the hero of the story, because I've had people tell me what I'm doing is amazing and I should continue doing it. I've had people screaming at me, telling me that I'm a fraud, and I've been followed and stalked and had my life threatened by people, and we've had to move sites sometimes. We've had people chase us. God, yeah, a lot of stuff has happened. I don't know, obviously no one's going to agree on what they think of you. Everyone has very different opinions on charity and this charity sector in general. The time I was proudest of myself is when this man came up to me like completely against the charity. He just wanted to rant to me about it, really. And we had a half an hour talk, literally 35 minutes of talking. One of my friends went on break and came back, and we were still talking. Wading through all the nonsense, I actually managed to put across exactly what we did and explain to him why he should be donating to us and what his donation would do. And he signed up with me that very day, and a very decent amount as well, and I'm still proud of myself. Like, I've never been prouder. Sometimes people just suck and they verbally abuse you and spit at you, and they think that you wearing this charity jacket gives them permission to treat you like shit. And that kind of negativity can make you feel really bad about yourself and make you doubt yourself and what you're doing, and I don't think that's okay. Like, I don't think you should ever treat a human being like the way I've seen some of my colleagues being treated and how I've been treated sometimes. Working for a charity and standing on the street, yes, we're asking you for money, that's what we're there for. It doesn't mean you can swear at us. The funniest like insulting incident was when oh, it's brilliant. I made eye contact with this man and I was like, hi, and he was like, hi, fuck off, and then kept walking. And just the changing in tones and his facial expressions that went along with it, just quality. It was really funny. I actually laughed as he walked past. When you're a woman, men can take liberties, which is really annoying. I've been asked by not one, not two, but 3 men over 40. I have been offered money to go on a date with someone. I would be asked, I don't know, 5 to 6 times a week to give someone my number, which obviously is just completely inappropriate and disgusting. That's not what we're there for. And none of that happened to my male counterparts. So sexism in the workplace, am I right? Sometimes people actually care and they talk to you and they have a really lengthy conversation, and you get so impassioned that you don't realize like 40 minutes have passed. Even if they don't donate, it's just really like invigorating to have conversations like that. I've noticed that the youth, basically people from 18 to 30, care a lot. They are very aware of issues and they want to do what they can. So often, obviously, they're uni students though, so they don't really have the financial ability to donate to us regularly. But I just love how so many of them, even if they couldn't donate, they would stop and ask to be educated on the topic or just have a conversation with me and be really nice. Younger people in general, even if they didn't stop, were nicer, and they would be really open and friendly and super apologetic. Way too many sorries were involved between 2 parties, like them saying, I'm so sorry, I mean like, I'm so sorry for trying to stop you, like, no, I'm so sorry, I can't stop, I can't. Me saying, I'm so sorry, it's okay. Just way too many sorries exchanged. But that was really heartwarming to see, and it gives me hope for future generations. I have ended up talking to the most weird, most interesting people people I ever could have come across, and I think this is the only environment I ever could have spoken to these kind of people in. I've had multiple ex-fundraisers sign up with me because they just know, they just get it. They're like, I care about this a lot. I know exactly what you go through and how difficult your job is. Please don't let me make it any harder. Let's do this and let's sign up. Those kind of people who are aware of what the job entails and what it's like, it's so refreshing. I met a lady who had just finished chemo. She was so sweet and we had a very brief conversation and she was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, come on, let's sign up. And I was like, seriously? And she was like, yeah. You know, I've wanted to help with these kind of things in the past and I just financially have not been able to. And for the first time in my life, I'm financially able to help and I want to, so let me do it. She ended up being the biggest donation I've ever gotten for the charity. And it was monthly, so cool. I met a guy who just moved to London from South America a week ago, and he was also a Pisces. That was great. And he was telling me like how he was a swimming coach for people with physical disabilities, so either they were missing limbs or semi-paralyzed or things like that. I was just like, you're amazing, like your job already is helping people and you're so cool. And he was like, I guess I could always do more. Let's donate, let's sign up. On days where I'm just not having a good day and you've been shot down like tons and tons of times, you're not going to want to ask every single time, so sometimes I would just be like, hi, and just, you know, gauge how they react to that. That's just on bad days though, I don't always do that. A lot of the time people will just reject my hello. Like, I'll be like, hi, and they'll be like, no, or just glare at me or look away or not respond at all. I don't know what they're rejecting, like my greeting, my presence, my existence, I don't know. It was slightly hurtful. Some people just aren't gonna like you because of what you represent, and some people aren't gonna care as much as you do, even when it's regarding human rights. And finally, to the public, to every single person who wants to know what exactly you should say to a fundraiser if you're gonna reject them, because I've been asked this a lot of times by friends and family and stuff. Personally, for me, I just appreciate like people being genuine. I've seen some people really do it right, where they look at you, they smile, they acknowledge you. Hi, I'm really sorry, I admire what you're doing, but I can't financially support you right now. We appreciate human contact and being acknowledged so often. We're ignored for so long that we're just like, validate my existence, someone. But I think just being friendly and honest, everyone says, sorry, I'm in a rush. So it gets to the point where you're just like, they're like, sorry, I'm like, let me guess, you're in a rush, aren't you? That's kind of a repetitive thing to hear and a derivative thing. I hope if you wanted to be a charity fundraiser, this didn't scare you off. It can be very rewarding. It's a very interesting job. I'm really grateful for the experiences I've had, and I think it's just made me so much more aware of people and people's circumstances. Thanks for watching. I hope this was enlightening to you. Obviously, everyone should be a charity fundraiser, but seriously, I will leave links down below for a bunch of really reputable homeless charities that I know of and that I support. Yes, the one that I work for will be there. You won't know which one. Bye.
Beautiful stranger.